Good morning, America. I'm Joan London.
And I'm Charles Gibson. Good to have you with us on Friday. Always good to have it be Friday.
Yes.
It is August 27th. We're going to turn our attention again to a case that really everyone is talking about. And there's an aspect to it that needs consideration, because for most people, achieving fame and fortune is a desirable, if elusive, goal. And yet even those who do become rich and famous may wonder if the price of fame at times is too high. You can just ask Woody Allen or Mike Tyson, or right now, Michael Jackson, or others who may be touched by allegations or even the hint of scandal. In a few moments, a look at this phenomenon, the price of fame on the famous. Right now, our weather outlook from Spencer Christian this morning.
Pay quite a price to be famous at this point. Tropical storm Emily formed in the Atlantic Ocean yesterday morning. Its highest winds are 70 miles per hour. It's 900 miles east of West Palm Beach, Florida. In this hour, we'll tell you about the potential threat it poses to the U.S. mainland. Joan?
All right, also ahead, by his own account, Kenneth Lakeberg, the father of the Siamese twins separated last week, was helping himself generously to the money sent in by donors to help cover medical costs. In this half hour, our consumer editor, Paula Lyons, has tips on how well-intentioned givers can make sure that their contributions do wind up in the right hands. Right now, though, Ann Compton is in for Morton Dean. She has the news of the day. Ann, good morning.
Good morning, Joan. Good morning, everyone. Welcome news for the Midwest is coming out of the so-called flood summit in Des Moines, Iowa. Federal officials say they expect President Clinton to waive the rules that say state and local governments have to pay for a fourth of the cleanup cost. That could save the 9 affected states at least $1 billion. More from Des Moines and from the flood summit from ABC's Kathy Wolf.
The governor of Iowa is attending the summit in Des Moines with a mission. Terry Branstad is trying to save his state $175 million. After a disaster, states are required to pay 25% of their own losses to public property. Branstad is asking the federal government to waive that requirement.
In this case, the damage is so devastating, the cost to our economy and the cost to these cities and counties as well as the state would be so great, it's just beyond what we could handle.
In all, Iowa suffered over $720 million in damage to public property. More than 60 state highways, many local roads, and at least 90 bridges are in need of repair. Des Moines' water purification plant will require $3 million in federal help. The Coliseum at Iowa State suffered heavy damage, as did many state parks. After the hurricanes in Florida and Hawaii, President Bush waived the state matching requirement.
The only thing we're asking for is treatment similar to what Florida and Hawaii received last year.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency has a formula to determine whether a state's matching funds may be waived. Total damage to public property must exceed $64 per state resident. Here in Iowa, total damage exceeds $300 per resident. Agriculture Secretary Mike Espy says he expects Iowa to get the waiver.
It's being considered. The president will make a decision, but I'd be very surprised if he didn't do it.
FEMA will make its recommendation to President Clinton today. Without the waiver, Iowa may have to raise taxes to pay for the statewide devastation. Kathy Wolf, ABC News, Des Moines.
5,000 people were forced from their homes following an explosion and fire outside Cleveland, Ohio this morning. A chemical reaction triggered the blast at the Aztec Catalyst Company in Elyria. The first explosion was followed by a second a half hour later. Aztec makes chemicals for cosmetic companies. The Los Angeles Police Department has reportedly found no incriminating evidence in its investigation of Michael Jackson. Police are said to have viewed videotapes seized during searches of Jackson's home. And the LA Times reports they've found no proof to support the allegations that he molested children. In Bangkok, the entertainer is getting back to his concert schedule after taking 2 nights off for what he says was severe dehydration. In New York, Sheikh Omar Abdelrahman has gone to court to answer the charges that he helped mastermind a massive terrorist plot. The arraignment came 6 months to the day after the World Trade Center bombing, the event that first brought the Sheikh and his followers to public attention. ABC's Jim Hickey reports.
The Arabic-speaking Sheikh Abdul Rahman, wearing a headset for translation, said nothing during his arraignment. Neither did any of the other 14 defendants, so the judge entered not guilty pleas for them. The government says the Sheikh was a leader of a plot to blow up the World Trade Center, the United Nations, and other buildings and public thoroughfares. The case is based mainly on conversations between a government informant, the man on the left here, and some of the suspects, including the Sheikh. It is a broad, wide-ranging indictment that defense lawyers say is too vague.
It doesn't specifically say what the sheikh may have said to anybody. It doesn't say when these meetings occur. It doesn't say what specific acts the sheikh did.
The sheikh is not charged with specific acts of violence, but is accused of consulting with others as they plan bombings and murders. Defense lawyers indicate that the secretly recorded conversations may have violated the sheikh's First Amendment rights of free speech. Constitutional experts disagree.
It is very far-fetched to invoke the First Amendment as a defense in this case, given what the government charges and what I believe it may be able to prove.
What the government thinks it is able to prove is that Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman was at the center of the potentially largest terrorist operation within the borders of the United States. Jim Hickey, ABC News, New York.
More U.S. troops are arriving in Somalia, and among them are members of a counterterrorism unit. As ABC's John McWethy reports, the specialized force has a special mission in Mogadishu.
Hidden within the ranks of the Army Rangers who are now arriving in Somalia is a small contingent of the elite Delta Force, the most secret and highly trained soldiers in the U.S. military. Their mission is to find and then capture Somali warlord Mohammed Farah Aidid, the man believed responsible for the deaths of 30 UN peacekeepers and for paralyzing efforts to rebuild Somalia.
We're prepared to deal with any group or individual who stands in the way of the UN mission in Somalia.
Sending a Delta Force team, which specializes in sensitive rescues and covert snatches, is an indication of how urgently the U.S. wants to capture Aidid and to get him out of Somalia alive. If they succeed, Aidid would be put on trial in an international court or simply held in prison until Somalia puts its judicial system back together again. If they fail to catch Aidid or to drive him from the country, officials say this one warlord may well succeed in ruining the UN's efforts to again try to make Somalia into a nation. John McWethy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
Bosnia's Muslim government and the leaders of the Bosnian Serbs are meeting today on the peace plan negotiated in Geneva for their country. The Muslims are expected to reject it on grounds they'd be left with too little territory should Bosnia be divided into 3 parts. Some hardline Serbs are also calling for the plan to be rejected on the grounds they would lose too much of the land that they have conquered. And that's some of the news to this hour. Now, Joan and Spencer.
All right, thank you very much, Ann. Right. And when it comes to the weather, I guess some people have too much rain, other people don't have enough, but you've got some people who did something about it.
Well, you're right. It's either feast or famine this year. There's either too much rain or none at all. Now, San Antonio, Texas has not had rain in 61 days.
Wow.
So, yesterday, these school kids in San Antonio did a rain dance. Hey, it might work, you know. My forecast didn't, so it did a rain dance.
Is there any rain in their forecast?
Well, there was rain in the forecast yesterday. It didn't happen. Apparently, they watched that forecast yesterday, and now they're demanding rain. And today, it looks like they're, yep, okay. It looks like there will be some rain. After that, there may not be any more weather. Let's go to the maps and take a look at what's happening in the San Antonio area today. You can standard of justice.
I don't really think so. We probably subject them to a different standard of scrutiny. But it is there's no question that it's the price of fame. I mean, in the Michael Jackson case, here is somebody who has earned not only hundreds of millions of dollars because of his singing and dancing, which I think everyone would agree are brilliant, but has also earned many millions of dollars as a celebrity spokesperson just for being famous. And the price of that is that you're going to get a tremendous amount of attention, particularly when there are allegations of criminal behavior.
But I ask it because the central tenet of the justice system is that someone is innocent until they are proven guilty.
Yes, and I think people who are rushing to judge at this point in the absence of facts and in the absence of, you know, this thing having progressed through the criminal justice system are making a big mistake. I'm horrified at the media people who are coming out and either saying he's guilty, it looks as if he's guilty, or it looks as he's innocent. I mean, I read columnists saying this is ridiculous. I've known Michael since he was X years old, and of course he could never do something like this. We just don't know.
But isn't that exactly what people are doing? Is making up their mind based on
I think this is highly unfortunate.
Charges that we don't even know for sure.
Yes.
Alan Dershowitz, you've covered a lot of, or defended a lot of famous clients. In this case, there has been from the Jackson people a defense that this is an extortion against him. Is somebody in the public eye often subjected to that? Is it often a problem for people who are famous?
Oh, it's a very, very common problem, and a lot of celebrities give in to the extortion. That's the problem. They quietly pay off the extortionists, thereby encouraging others. And so I think people are very subject to this kind of thing, and extortionists go to type. So that when you have somebody like Michael Jackson who likes young children, everybody knows that, he's easy prey to a false allegation of having molested a child. Now, every allegation of child abuse has to be investigated seriously. And I spoke to Michael Jackson's lawyer yesterday, Howard Weitzman, and they are fully cooperating with the investigation with the Los Angeles police, which is what you have to do if you're a celebrity. You know, there's no Fifth Amendment for a celebrity. A celebrity can't invoke the same rights that normal, ordinary defendants can invoke. You have to lay it all out. You have to be fully cooperative. You can't just be mum. Celebrities can't allow themselves to be put into compromising positions whereby somebody could extort them. And in this case, the LA police announced this morning that after a full search, they had found no physical evidence to corroborate it. And one hopes that after a full and complete investigation, the truth will come out.
Yeah, actually, celebrities have two problems. What they say to authorities is one problem. Also, what they say to the public. Because, as I was talking about with Leslie, the public tends to make up their minds so quickly.
And the public loves to see celebrities fall. Just as they love to see them when they're on top, there's a certain psychological, you know, just benefit to saying, gee, you know, we thought that celebrity was so great, but now that he or she has fallen, we live a much better life. And so the higher they are, the harder they fall. And I think a lawyer who's involved in a case like this has to understand that he's defending not only in the court of law, but in the court of public opinion as well.
Chuck Stone, in your estimation, do the black and white communities react differently in this case?
I think there is. I made a survey last night, Charlie, of a number of young black people around the country, New York City, Chicago, Washington, D.C., to get their assessment. Right now, there isn't any great outpouring of support for Michael, sort of waiting to see what's going to happen. They don't feel there's any injustice involved. They recognize that Michael has a kind of a different type of character. Androgynous comes to mind, for example. One person said to me, he hasn't learned boundaries and so forth. So right now, I think that in the black community, from what I've been able to assess, there's sort of a waiting, let's see what's going to happen. There's no great concern, for example, like we had for Malice Green trial in Detroit or the Denny trial in Los Angeles. Those are the kinds of things right now. The question of equal justice is far more important, or the March on Washington, the recreation. Those, I think, have seized the imagination and the emotional involvement of the blacks, at least I talked with.
Chuck, quick comment from you on the point that Alan Dershowitz raised just a moment ago, that people like to see the famous brought down to their level. It sort of ennobles their own lives. Difference in the white and black communities on that issue?
No, I think there's a similarity of sentiment in both cases. They do want to see them fall. In the black community, there's so few heroes, legitimate heroes, that there's a feeling, well, gee, we lose a brother or we lose a sister. Great outpouring. For example, in the Michael Jordan situation, his father's unfortunate passing, I think both the black and white communities identified very strongly with Michael Jordan. I don't get that detection. I don't feel that right now where Michael Jackson's concerned.
Leslie Bennett, you wanted to comment on something Alan Dershowitz said.
Well, and Chuck's reference to Michael Jackson's perhaps having a lack of boundaries. If a public figure knows that they're going to be vulnerable to this kind of exposure, it does seem to me that one would want one's conduct to be above reproach. And we now have testimony from two kids, including one who's defending Michael Jackson, saying that he would sleep in the same bed with them. Now, I think I'm a parent, this is grossly inappropriate behavior for a 35-year-old man to be sharing a bed with an 11-year-old boy or a 13-year-old boy.
But let's not jump to conclusions that these allegations are necessarily correct. Again, it goes to type. Whenever a news report like this emerges, people come and give what they think is evidence that supports the allegation. Let's at least wait and hear whether that evidence is valid, what the explanations are. Michael Jackson's out of the country. He hasn't been able to defend himself.
But one of those was from a boy who was defending Michael Jackson and who was offered as somebody who was saying that Michael Jackson was innocent. So there's one boy who's making an allegation that he's guilty and one who's making an allegation that he's innocent. Both of them saying he slept in the same bed with him. All I'm saying is this seems to me to be unwise behavior for a superstar.
I'm out of time, but last word, Chuck Stone.
Let me ask Alan something. Alan, what is the significance of the documents that the Associated Press has was purported to have seen in Los Angeles concerning the relationship that the boy kissed him, fondled him, and led it to sex. If that's an unofficial document, wouldn't that have some sort of legal impact? Wouldn't it have significance that we must seriously consider?
Not necessarily. It could be a legal document that just reports hearsay or reports testimony of an individual. Everything has to be tested under the crucible of cross-examination, and no one, not even a celebrity, should be presumed guilty on the basis simply of allegations.
On that final word, we will thank you all. Chuck Stone, Alan Dershowitz, Leslie Bennett, thank you for being here. 17 after. Next, the controversy over the Lakeburg charities when Good Morning America continues.
$1,500 that was spent. We were both under stress. I'm willing to return the money. I've got a...
For those who take life way too seriously, may we suggest an attitude adjustment. It's as easy as driving a Jeep Wrangler. The original go anywhere, do anything 4x4. That's now even easier to get excited about when you consider its price. So get serious about changing your attitude and get behind the wheel of a Jeep Wrangler today.
See your local Jeep and Eagle dealer.
Century 21 wishes to thank the more than 33,000 Northwest families who bought or sold through their offices in 1992 and remind you that with interest rates at a 20-year low, now is the time to buy. Charming 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with gourmet kitchen and security system has large fenced yard which backs up to a golf course and a quiet cul-de-sac. 3-acre stand of oak and pine surround this 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath split level with large family kitchen, formal dining and living rooms, private but close to town. Unique salt box plan with bonus room, large master bedroom with spa, a dream kitchen with white cabinets, all on a spacious corner lot. Still time to customize, hands-on building by Dean Wickens Construction. 3,000 square foot home on 1.2 acres, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, 5 decks, 2 stone fireplaces. Gorgeous setting with a pond and creek. When calling, use the corresponding ID numbers. Century 21. Put number 1 to work for you.
Oregon products mean quality and jobs. Agribusiness is Oregon's largest industry. Products grown and harvested in Oregon are among the best. Support the stores that support Oregon products. Look for this seal. It means more than just quality, it means jobs.
The incredible story of the Lakeburg Siamese twins has been eclipsed now by the story of their father, Kenneth Lakeburg, and how he has misused money donated to help his daughters. And consumer editor Paula Lyons now brings us up to date.
It was a heartbreaking story. Tiny babies joined at the chest would be separated in an expensive procedure only one could survive. But even her chances would be slight. That raised questions about whether the procedure was worth the hundreds of thousands of dollars it would cost.
Money don't mean nothing to us, just our baby's life.
People are putting dollar value on a life, and you just can't do that.
But the Wheatfield, Indiana welder spent $5,600 of donated money on a used car to drive back and forth to the hospital, he said. And after repeated denials, Lakeburg admitted he also spent $1,300 on cocaine and alcohol.
I do have a drug and alcohol problem. I am talking to counselors now with that. I'm trying to get the help. I'm not afraid to admit my problems.
And Paula Lyons is here to tell us how to make sure that your money that is intended for a good cause does not end up in the wrong hands. First of all, Paula, how did this happen? How did the money get filtered through to him?
Well, first of all, Joan, there were two funds. Kenneth Lakeburg's in-laws set up the first fund, and it was a trust restricted in its use. The parents had no access to it. Checks had to be written directly for medical care, funeral services if one of the children died, and support of the surviving child. But Kenneth Lakeburg was apparently upset with that, went down the street to another bank, opened another fund, spent a lot of time publicizing the existence of that fund.
So went out and made a plea for the money and gave that address instead.
Yes, and despite the fact that the hospital was going to pay the bill for the operation, people sent in quite a lot of money, about $9,000, some of which he spent as he told his lawyer he would. could. He had to get his lawyer to release the money, even in his fund. Some of it he bought a car with, some, as we saw, but he has now admitted that he's spent some of it on alcohol and drugs.
Well, how do you make sure if you, thank God we have all these people who call in and they want to help. So now how do they make sure the money is going to the right place?
Well, when you are wanting to give to a single-purpose local community fund to help an individual or a family, there are a couple of things you have to know. First of all, this is not legally a charity, so it's not a tax-deductible contribution. But if you don't care about that, you should still try and find out as much as you can about the fund.
Call the bank. Will they give you that information?
Well, you need to know how is that fund being set up, who has access to the money, for what purpose will that money be spent, and how is that purpose...